Hello, and welcome to day 2 of Creating Inclusion in Business workshop. Technology has been very interesting for me the last couple of days. I went through and I tagged everyone and then just about ready to go live, and then it disappeared. So now I'm doing a live with nobody tagged. So if you are watching this and you know anyone who is wants to be part of the workshop, has joined the workshop, please feel free to tag them. I would really appreciate that, just to make sure that they know it's on and they can come join us too. So I'm hoping that a few of you jump on. I can see there's no one on so far, but something I wanted to start off with before we do anything is I guess kind of set a little bit of an intention for today. And that would be around, I guess, raising our vibrations and really looking at what our intentions are for being inclusive. So what is it that you want to do? What is it that you want to create? And what's that feeling that you want to have in your business? Do you want it to be one where you feel people feel safe and included? Is community the thing that you want to be creating? Is it the feeling of equality? Is it the feeling that everyone is powerful in your business? What is that feeling that you want to be creating in your business? And really honing into what that feeling is. Because then when we understand what the feeling is that we want to be creating in business and for other people, we can really then start to work out what we need to do in our business to make that feeling happen. And because we're all different people, we're unique individuals, and we have unique businesses, it won't ever look the same. It does make it a little bit challenging for me in these situations where I can't speak to you one-on-one like I can in the 4-week program I will be doing in a couple of weeks. But if you can self-assess during this workshop, excuse me, you can start to look at what your business is and how you want to make people feel in your business and how that is connected with that inclusive space. So, hi Jody, I can see your comment, and I will actually quickly just refresh my page so I can see the comments a bit better, because I can't see them on my phone very good. Okay, beautiful. Yeah, I just mentioned that I went through and I tagged everyone, and then the post disappeared, and so I had to just do a post with nothing in it. But you know what? Everything happens for a reason. I'm a true believer in that. So everything is perfect the way it is, and people will find me, and if not, they will watch the replay later. So that's absolutely perfect. Welcome Jody. You're the one watcher at the moment. I'm hoping a few more will jump on in a little while. We are on day 2, and so to kick off day 2, I want to start with an acknowledgement of country. So I, Louise of the Warrwa-Noongar nations, would like to acknowledge the Whadjuk people of the Noongar nation as the custodians throughout all time of this land and of these waters, and I want to share my deep gratitude for them and the role that they play here in caring for our country and ensuring that it thrives, to make sure that we all thrive in this space too, not only on a physical level but also on a spiritual level as well. I would also like to pay my respects to the elders, past and present and forevermore, for their wonderful leadership they provide to our community, to me, to my family, and to the wider community as a whole. And I would also like to pay my respects to the custodians of the place, of the place that you're on as well, and also pay respects to the elders, or whatever term that those particular people use on that land that you're on as well. So thank you so much for joining me for day 2. My apologies for anyone who is expecting to be tagged. It's not possible today, and that's okay. You can still watch this replay. So something we're looking at a little bit today is about unlearning and learning. So the first thing I want you to do is, was that intention, looking at what your intention is and what you're wanting to be creating in terms of emotions or feelings of your business in regards to inclusion. And then when you can tap into that feeling and sit with that feeling, a lot of the time, a lot of those answers will come to you on how you can actually create that in your business. How can you create that feeling for others and for yourself in your business? The next thing you can do, and this is something that I really encourage everyone to do in this process, if you are going on that journey of being more inclusive or becoming an ally, and that is to look within and to look at your own heritage, look at your own ancestry, because a lot of the time the people that I work with, they carry a lot of guilt or a lot of shame or a lot of anger or even disgust over parts of their heritage or members of their heritage, or certain events that they know that their families were involved in that could lead to that marginalization, that oppression. So what I want you to do is have a look at it and really reclaim those parts of you. That is the story that makes up you to this point. And that doesn't mean that you need to accept it in terms of being okay with the things that have happened, but you can accept that what has happened, and you have no power in that moment to changing those things. But what you do have now is that knowledge of what has been and has happened. You know how you feel about that now, and now you're getting new information in through me and through other sources of how you want to create your world in a different way, and you do not support what has happened. So really becoming just accepting and being inclusive of that past that has made up you as well, because we don't want to be denying parts of ourselves in this, because it's very closely linked to how we're showing up into the world as well. If we are denying parts of ourselves, that is a form of exclusion, which we then reflect out into the world as well. So if we are taking all the parts of us, the parts we love and the parts that we have rejected or don't really like that much, and just go, it is all me and it's all okay, we can then really start to understand how inclusion works and how marginalization works, because we do it within ourselves and we're very critical and harsh within ourselves as well. So part of my heritage is, I shared it yesterday, so I've got a Scandinavian heritage, I have Asian heritage, Papuan heritage, so that all kind of makes up me. And of course I have Aboriginal heritage as well. And when I was growing up, because I was constantly told in many various ways, lots of them latent, lots of them are really like underlying, you got to read behind the lines type stuff, I worked out very quickly that Aboriginal people were not wanted in my community, were not welcome. And there were these associations linked with whole communities of people which were really negative. And so I got to a point where I wanted to completely reject my Aboriginality because it was so difficult. It was hard to identify in that way, knowing how my community felt about me and my group of people. So to me, in my child mind, I thought, well, wouldn't it just be easier and less harmful to me if I could just reject that part of me and then not live in that? And so I marginalized it within myself. I excluded it within myself. But then what I realized was that by doing that, that took something from me. it really was quite soul crushing. It really was way more painful than having to deal with external people not accepting or wanting me or my people around. Me doing it to myself was so much harsher. So I would love for you to take a moment to just look within and think about if there's any part of you, and I don't just mean about your culture, I mean about all the parts of you. So it could be your sexuality, it could be your finances, it could be the color of your skin, it could be the color of your hair or your eyes. What is it that you are not fully claiming and accepting of yourself? And this gives, when you can really look at it and then start to go within and say, okay, well, I wasn't accepting this part of me, then you can really understand in society how essentially easy it can be to reject certain parts that you don't feel you like or want. And a lot of that time, that like or want is associated with external social conditioning that you've been taught is okay or not okay. And in reality, everything's okay. Absolutely everything's okay. There is nothing that is not okay in this world, and there is nothing that is not okay within us, how we're born. It's just, that is it, that's nature. And we as people, we as humans have some kind of, what would be the word? Feeling that our opinions on these things matter and our opinions override what nature has done. So that's very interesting. So you can have a look at that. I don't want you to be working in this space carrying that guilt with you, carrying that shame with you. If you're on and if you felt some of these things, please let me know in the comments. I do love you to participate a little bit. If anything is coming up for you, if you're enjoying the content or you're agreeing with me, press the heart button just so I know where you're at. There's obviously not going to be as much conversation as there was yesterday because I couldn't tag everyone. So if you are able to, and I know you did yesterday, Jody, which I really, really appreciated, but if you know anyone who was on yesterday and would love to be on, please feel free to tag them in the comments. Okay. So also, if you know what your heritage is at the moment and you're willing to share, I would love to hear what your heritage consists of, because often we identify with one, but we are made up of so many different heritages and ancestries and all that kind of stuff. And it's about connection. So yesterday I talked about sharing the place that you're from, because that's a way that we can connect with each other. That's not necessarily about it's not innately connected with our personal identities. So that is a beautiful way we can connect in different ways. And so is our heritage. So if we can talk about our heritage, that is another beautiful way that we can find that we connect with more people in different ways. And inclusion is about connecting and understanding how every single person on the planet is connected to one another in some way. And it's about finding those connections and then building on those connections and the relationships to create that more inclusion. It's not just about showing up in a space and saying the right things. It's about having those intentions. It's about showing up in those spaces and actively being that inclusive person. But it's also about the relationship stuff, and it's about building those relationships. And I know a lot of people struggle with the relationship stuff, and especially in different cultural groups. I certainly know for Aboriginal culture, the most important thing we have is our connection and our relationships. And if you want to be learning more and really getting that knowledge, it is through relationship building. there is no, and it's like, it's this beautiful transfer of energies. Like, you're putting energy into building beautiful relationships and being respectful. And then in return, the energy comes back to you in terms of maybe sharing a little bit more information about Aboriginal people and culture, because there is this imbalance of power in our society that if someone comes along into any marginalised community, but I'm going to specifically talk about Aboriginal community because that's the community that I belong to. If someone comes along who doesn't belong in that community or doesn't identify in that community, and they learn something from that community, quite often they take that learning and go and teach it, or they will share it with others, or do something with it that's not appropriate for them to be doing with that particular information. The problem with our systems in our society is that if that were to happen, there is nothing that the Aboriginal community can do to stop that happening. So that is where there is that power imbalance happening. There is no power for them to stop that appropriation from happening. So by building relationships with people in marginalized communities, and not just for the purpose of having friendships with marginalized people, it's more about actually just having relationships and friendships with people in general. And when you just want to have relationships with people in general, they come up, they show up from everywhere. They belong to all different groups. So it's not like going and creating a quota of these are the types of friends that I want to have and I'm going to go and search them out. No, it's about this beautiful organic thing. Of course, you can show up in different places where, you know, they may likely be, and then start that kind of thing. But it's about really genuine relationships. And then when you start building that relationship, and then there's that trust building that happens, that, you know, I like this person, I love their values, I align with them, and we work really well together. I'm going to share some information with them because I trust that they will do what's right with that information, and know that that information is for them and not for them to go and use and profit from or share or teach others. So that's certainly something you can do. I can see there is a few comments. So Jodie has said, I definitely have a lot of shame about not knowing better in the past and not doing more now. Yeah, I can understand that. But I want you to release that shame, Jodie, because I believe every single person is doing the very best they can with the knowledge that they have. And you bring with you so much experience of seeing how people are treated when they do the doing part. You have experience of your networks, your family and your friends that maybe don't agree with some of the things you do, or you hear the things that they say and you just kind of think, you think about the relationships you have with them and how that will affect those things. You think about how it means you will show up in the world and how you will be perceived to others, because at the end of the day, we still want to feel like we belong and we're accepted in our communities. And because allyship and inclusion is something so new, and we're still experimenting with the ways that we do it, and certainly I'm going to be the first person to say that some people do it really terribly, like really shockingly, in ways that I'm not even sure they know what they're doing in the slightest. So there's so much stuff in the background going on. I'm not surprised at all that inaction happens. It seems scary, it seems overwhelming, but that's where you have people like me who can kind of be like that mentor or that hand holding and say, you know, just come this way, come this way, come this way, come this way, do this little thing, do this little thing, do this little thing. And by doing just those tiny little steps, I can help you build that confidence to knowing what you feel comfortable in saying, how you are comfortable in showing up in the world, and how what you're feeling on the inside is expressed in an articulate way, and not in a way that you don't intend it to be articulated. Because that is sometimes the hardest thing to deal with, is when you are sharing something with something like a really beautiful intention, that it can be misunderstood or taken in the wrong way. And this is quite often why it's hard with written language as well, because you don't have tone in it. And also, not many people are fantastic at grammar, and not many people are fantastic at reading grammar. So sometimes it can just be read in the completely different way from what it's intended to read, even when you're writing out and saying it out in your head. So I totally get it, but there is a way that we can do it that is perfect for you and perfect for your business, and it's not going to look the same to everyone. But the thing too is, when you know your truth, through your core values, through your business values, through your branding and what you want to be creating in the world, when you say things that are in your absolute truth and people don't like it, you don't really care. Honestly, you don't care, because they are welcome to have their opinions on it, but you are standing in your power and in your truth, and regardless of what anyone else around thinks about it, that is your truth, and you're using your voice in a powerful way to make sure that that is contributing to the creation of that inclusion. And that's the space that I want to be getting you to. Okay, let me have a look. Jodie's going to sit with that tonight. Beautiful. And allow it to process. Like, it can be quite full on sitting in these workshops, because it's a lot of information in a very short amount of time. Just be okay with taking whatever I'm saying in, and not having to form any kind of opinions about it or feedback or anything like that. And take it away and just sit with it when you have a moment on your own, and just allow it to process, because sometimes we just need a little bit of time to work through those things. Thank you so much, Jodie, for tagging everyone. You are amazing. Okay, and Jodie has also said, we have a fair amount of English in our family, yeah, but I don't really have a clear picture. I'm noticing that I have never wanted to look into my heritage because it's so entrenched in colonisation. But perhaps if I understood English culture that is outside the need to colonise, I may heal a lot of stuff myself. Absolutely. And the thing is, colonisation is such a teeny part of the culture. So it's kind of like saying, I don't encourage anyone to paint whole cultures with the same brush. So that's kind of like saying you're painting that whole culture with colonization, whereas in fact there are so many other beautiful parts to that culture. All cultures are beautiful. All cultures can contribute in beautiful ways into the world, and not every single member of that community is involved in direct colonization. You know, we may all be participating in it now, but we can start to innovate and change the way that we're doing things so that there is a more even playing ground for marginalized people across all spectrums. So you can look at all the different aspects of that particular heritage. And also, not everyone agreed with the way things were going and in those times either. When colonization and first settlement first happened, not everyone agreed with the way things were being done. So there are just you got to understand as well that everyone is an individual. And this brings us on to the next point that I wanted to talk about, was that one unlearning that we really need to do is that, yes, people may identify in groups of people and in communities, but that doesn't mean that everyone in that community thinks the same way, feels the same way, has the same values, believes there are the same solutions to the problems. So it's coming at it from a perspective of every single person is an individual, and every individual identifies in multiple different communities. So I identify with the Aboriginal community, I identify with the Australian community, I identify as a woman, I identify in lots of different spaces. So I'm an individual, and the way I identify and the communities that I feel I belong in are very unique to me. And so when we understand that, we can now start looking at, okay, this is an individual person with these particular opinions or thoughts. I'll give you a bit of an example. So one thing that a lot of my clients get really stuck on is what terms to use. And this was even evident in the day one post where people put some of their aha moments and stuff, was that not knowing what term to use to address certain marginalized groups. And for Aboriginal people, I use Aboriginal. So if I'm in a group where I know people are very aware that there are different countries and different language groups, I will say I'm a Warrwa-Noongar. That is the number one way that I introduce myself. But if I'm not sure if people understand that term, I will also add on Aboriginal woman, because that is a more known term. But there are a lot of people in my community who do not identify with Aboriginal. There are a lot of people who prefer using Indigenous. I am not one of those people who use Indigenous. Other people only prefer First Nations, and then there are other people who will only use their language groups. So for me, doing my particular job, to have to go through and say Aboriginal, Indigenous, First Nations, and then label all the hundreds of language groups, it's just not possible. So I use Aboriginal because I know it is a common term, but I also acknowledge that this is not the way everyone identifies. And as long as I understand the concept of the group of people I'm talking about, there is no intention for disrespect for people who don't identify in that way, but we can be stalled from making any kind of real progress if we get caught up in the terms that we're using. Of course, we should always be searching for better terms, ones that are more acceptable, but in this moment, what can we do? And that's what we just need to be searching for. In this moment, what can we do? The next moment, in this moment, what can we do? And being okay with changing things that we have done in the past, because it's about that evolution and growth. We learn new things as time goes on, and then we evolve the way we think, we evolve the way we do things, and that is all part of it. It's this constant evolution, and that is why inclusion and diversity, learning and awareness in particular, needs to be a continual thing. It can't be like a once-off learning. It has to be a continual thing, because this industry is growing really rapidly, and people are becoming so interested and wanting to participate in this new movement. It is just growing and changing quite a lot. So to keep up with that, you need to be keeping up with that awareness and learning. David has said here, just saw you were live, so listening. Inclusion is intricate and has many aspects to it. Absolutely, David. So lovely to have you here, and I completely agree with that statement. Inclusion in our lives and in our business are part of everything. They literally go into every facet of our business lives. And one, I guess this is, I don't want to say wrong, but can sometimes trip businesses up is when they say, or they have this idea that they want to set their businesses up and plan their businesses, and when they feel that their business is all set up, then they're going to introduce inclusion and diversity into their business. Excuse me. But inclusion and diversity needs to come in during that planning process, because if it comes in during the planning process when the foundation stuff has been built, it's so much smoother for that business. When a business has been going for quite a long time without consciously thinking about the inclusion and diversity side of it, that's where people find it really hard, because processes have been built, systems have been built, the way of doing business and becoming comfortable with doing things in business, and also creating your following, usually in an exclusive way, has already been done. So it's kind of like you need to do a lot of undoings, and it can feel like going back to scratch, which sometimes it is if you aren't including inclusion and diversity as your foundation blocks at the beginning of your business, and knowing that that's something you want to be integrally through it. And it doesn't even have to be in the aspect that you're speaking about inclusion and diversity and voicing it as an ally. It could literally be you are mindful of the inclusion or the inclusiveness of your business from the very beginning, and that's why you use certain ways of addressing people. That's why you use certain words when you're doing your marketing. That's why you use certain images or symbols, and that helps that whole process, because when you get to a point where you feel like your business is established and then you want to include inclusion and diversity into that space, it can seem like you are completely changing your business to your followers. So that can be really unsettling for them. So just introducing it to the start makes it a whole lot better in the long run for you and your followers. Okay. Let me have a look, see if there's any more comments. No, I think that's it. Beautiful. Okay. Where are we? No one size fits all. Yep, absolutely. Talked about that. Something I also want to talk about is that when you're looking at supporting inclusion of all people or of marginalised people, it's not just limited to supporting that particular group of people. It's like I mentioned yesterday, where it was when you support a certain movement, that movement is interlinked with lots of different things. So when you are supporting the inclusion of a particular marginalised group of people, that means you're supporting the inclusion of all marginalised people. But in the grand scheme of it all, that means you are supporting the inclusion of all people, even people who are the most privileged people, because inclusion is about supporting anyone and everyone on the planet to show up exactly how they are, to make sure that every single person on the planet is equal, that every single person is valued, that they are respected, that they have equal opportunities in things, that the systems that we create in our societies aren't going to suppress or oppress them in any way, so everyone has that equal chance at thriving, and that there is no one better culture than the other, that it's all beautiful. The sameness is beautiful, and the differences are beautiful, and everything is celebrated. So if you are supporting inclusion, you are literally supporting the inclusion of yourself, of your family, of your whole community, of your country, and of the world. So it is so much bigger than just helping one group. And I'm going to erase that word. It's not helping, it's supporting one group. Because at the end of the day, we each have our own power. We have our autonomy, we have our sovereignty and we experience the world, and with the social issues that we experience personally firsthand, we are the closest to those solutions. So we know the solutions to those problems, but it's the system that prevents those solutions from being heard and respected and then acted on. So it's not that we're helping people. We're not saviors. We're not here to save anyone. We are here to express what is our core values, who we are, and what we want the world to be, because we are unsatisfied with what it is currently. So we are doing what we can to help change that world. And by knowing that the things that we're doing are making other people feel valued, are making things more equal, that makes us feel good. So everyone has their own power, everyone can do their own stuff, but sometimes that extra support is needed to make changes happen. And those changes can't happen unless all of us do those changes. So how are you feeling about that? Does that make sense? I can see there's a few more comments. So Marty says, had a glitch today, but I'm back tomorrow. Okay, beautiful. No worries. You can always watch the replay. I'll be sending out an email with the replay in it anyway. Okay, let's see. Next thing. What's time? Okay, I will finish it up very soon. Something in business that people do is I know some of you are building your businesses a little bit as well. So if you're starting to build your business, I want to talk about building your teams a bit too. So when you are introducing or wanting new people to come into your team, I would encourage you to go for a value fit rather than a culture fit. So you see it so many times in business advertisements when you're advertising people that you want a culture fit. And what culture fit screams out to marginalized people is that it means you want people to be in your business that look the same, that feel the same, that think the same, that belong in the same identities as you and the people who are already in that business. And so that just absolutely screams sameness. You want people to be the same to come and be on your team. And that creates this echo chamber of people who have these ideas and then they go, oh, you had that idea? So did I. Aren't we so clever? We must know everything. We must be the smartest people. Whereas if you had a value fit and you only focus on people who value, they value community and they value family or friendship or honesty or whatever it is that is your core values and your business core values, if you really hone in and focus on them, you'll find that diverse groups of people are attracted to that because diverse groups of people share those same values with you. And that way, they are also more productive and more loyal because they know that together you are creating or working towards the same vision. So that is powerful when you have people in your teams who align in your values and you have that same vision working towards that same goal, rather than belonging from a same culture and not necessarily having the same visions of what you want to be creating. And that is what creates that diversity. It's not asking for people saying, I encourage people from diverse backgrounds to apply or anything like that. You don't even have to say it, because the way you word it tells people that you are inclusive, that you're not excluding other people. And what this also does is when you have diversity, that means that you have people from different backgrounds coming in, different experiences, coming from different places, experiencing the same society in a different way. And what this means is then when you are having your meetings or your masterminding with each other, so many more ideas are going to come into that space And when they come into that space, then that's when that mastermind stuff happens, where it all kind of molds together and you come out with something that not one single person in that group individually could have come up with, because you've co-created this brand new innovative idea because of the differences that you have experienced. That is what creates innovative business. That is what allows business to thrive. That is the source of businesses that people are just like, what is going on with them? They're so amazing. We don't understand what's the key to it. And it is diversity. It's diversity, but really having that inclusive space, really strong inclusive space where everyone there is valued, their input is respected, and because it is valued and respected and they have an opportunity to have a say equally as everyone else, that's where those really beautiful new ideas come to light. So also in business, a lot of the time I get questions around scholarships, and that, you know, they want to be offering scholarships to marginalised groups or the BIPOC community, or to Aboriginal people. I say you don't even have to say it, because at the end of the day, sometimes our businesses that we are wanting to have those marginalised people come into and participate in actually aren't safe for them. So you're providing these scholarships, and I say that in the most gentlest way, because I know that your intention is completely genuine and beautiful to support those people. But because we have those blind spots sometimes, when people from those communities enter into our business spaces, they actually aren't safe for them to be in. And that's also why it's a good idea to work with a mentor like me, or a coach like me, or someone else who can really bring light to some of those blind spots and make you understand that even though you have a really loving business, sometimes those spaces you're holding aren't quite safe for marginalised people to be in. So, and a lot of the time, there is this understanding that marginalised groups often aren't financially as well off as other groups of people, and that is directly related to the systems that have been set up in our societies as well. So the issue in your business is not that it's the diversity, it's actually that you're wanting to be providing opportunities to people who can't financially fund themselves. So rather than focusing on saying this is a scholarship for this particular minority group, you could always just say, if you are having financial difficulties, or you're struggling a little bit, just come and have a chat with me. And so then they can self-assess. They can say, okay, I like this person, I like this business, I really would love to work with them, but I don't quite have that financial backing yet. And me looking at their business, I feel like it's completely safe for me to be in. So that gives them the power to say, yes, this space looks like a safe space for me. I want to be on board. And they're offering a scholarship for people who maybe can't fund the 100% or all of it. So then they have that choice to come into your business and approach you, because you have made that space inclusive. You have made them feel valued, and you have created that space where they know if they enter it, they will be held, they will be safe in there. Okay, I think that is all that I needed to share with you today. It is a lot, and we really are going against what business, you know, the normal business has been. It has been a very kind of masculine built system, and especially if we are starting out and we're new in business, we have this idea that we need to create what others have created. The truth is, the business is our business. It's unique, we're unique, and we don't have to do business like anyone else does business. It's completely our choice. And if we can be completely aligned with ourselves and the way we're doing business, and not worrying about these, you got to do this first and this first and this first, or you have to sell in this way, or you have to market in this way, or you have to do that. If we've been really true to ourselves, and allowing those values to come through, and creating in the world the way we want to be creating, a lot of the time inclusion and diversity is very fluid and very easy, and it flows very easy. So I hope that you have got a lot out of today. I will be sending through some inclusion work for you to do this afternoon. And if you could do that and sit with it for a little bit, and then come back into the group and share your biggest takeaways, share anything that came up for you, any new ideas, any new thoughts, anything really that you feel you want to share with the rest of the participants and with me, please come back and share it on the day 2 post. I'll be popping that up very soon. And if you haven't already, the day 1 post is there for you to give any of your reflections as well about either the inclusion work that went out yesterday, or anything that kind of came up for you during the day, or anything during the live. That would be really great to pop it in there, because this is similar to what I was saying before. It's about the connection with each other. So us sharing different ideas and thoughts is a way of us connecting with each other. It's a way of us coming up with new ideas and looking at things in different ways. It's a way of us clarifying a little bit better, and also getting more comfortable to talk about this kind of stuff. So in the group, you know that everyone here supports inclusion and supports diversity and the creation of it. So this is a good group to practice, where it's a good place to practice you talking about inclusion and diversity and those kinds of things. You're most welcome to post things here and just see how it feels for you. And the more you do it, the more confident you will be. I mean, for me, for instance, doing a Facebook Live was like, oh my gosh, the trauma I put myself through to press the go live button was insane. So it's just about doing a little bit of practice and becoming more confident and standing in your truth on what you know is real for you and your business. Let me just have a look to see if there are any comments. So Kerry has said, I totally observed this in my business. I have always aligned to attract clients based on values and have always attracted a diverse clientele. That's amazing. I teach this in my book and program too. I never felt comfortable with standard ideal client avatar stuff for the reasons you describe. Though early in my business, I couldn't necessarily articulate why. Yep, absolutely. And sometimes we just need that little bit of experience, because when we know our body is our navigation system on whether things are right for us in our business or not. So really listening to our body and what our emotions are saying to us, what our body is saying to us. Sometimes we need to know what we don't like and what we don't want to then really understand what we do want. So it is that learning process. It is that evolution, and that's a beautiful thing that you've been able to recognize that. And I'm so impressed that you have already just naturally got that and been able to attract those diverse clientele. Beautiful. What else have we got here? Jody has said, that's bringing up a lot. Thank you. We'll sit with, okay, beautiful. I've read all the comments. So I'm going to be totally open and honest with you. This is a little bit of a taste test of what I will be doing in my 4-week inclusion coaching program that will be opening up. It starts on the 19th of January. 19th, I better check that date. I'm pretty sure 19th of January. And in it, so how that program works is there are 4 modules over 4 weeks. You get the module, you do the work with it, then you come and do a 1-hour live coaching session with me where you can refine that stuff that you've learnt and ask me any questions, and we can work together on creating those action steps for you and your business. It is a little bit difficult in this container to be able to do that, because I don't know a lot about your particular business, and like I keep saying, it is very unique because it needs to make sense. The diversity inclusion work needs to make sense to you and your business and your brand and your values. And so that is a unique makeup of stuff. And when I know that unique makeup of stuff, I can really help you hone into, okay, what is the thing that you want to be focusing on? Do you want to be an ally through your business, or do you want to just ensure that inclusivity is a priority in your business, and how you can actually do it? And then we work through what are the actual action steps. Where are you going to be most powerful, most impactful, and most effective? Where do you have the influence? And how do you use that and harness that influence in a really beautiful way to create those that feeling that you want to be creating in the world and in your business. So that will be coming up. I'll share a little bit more about my 4-week program tomorrow. That will have full details, and I'll send you an email about it as well. But this is a little bit of a taste test. You do have to do a little bit more work on your own during this workshop, but if you do have any questions, pop them in the comments and come into the day 1 and day 2 posts and pop them in there. I will be coming back to them and answering as many of them as I can. And that is it for today. I should have just said that they were going to be an hour long each day. I don't know why I say 20 to 30 minutes. I always give more. So I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I'm loving sharing this space with you. I'm so appreciative of you being here. It is such a beautiful thing for you to want to be more inclusive, when in reality you don't have to be. It is a choice, and it's so beautiful that you have made the choice of doing that. So thank you so much, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye for now.